All right, y'all. So we are back with some more unexplained mysteries and conspiracy theories. All right. So before we get to the video and the controversy and different things talked about, the contradictions and all of that, join me and help unplug more out of the matrix by doing one thing, and that's hit that like button, man. Hit that like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. All right. With that being said, let's get to the video. Here we go.
Deep in the heart of the awe-inspiring Grand Canyon lies a secret that could completely upend our understanding of history and civilization. When scientists recently made an incredible discovery in the depths of this vast canyon, they were both shocked and fascinated. In this video, we take a close look at the startling findings that could provide clues to a long-forgotten advanced civilization. Why has this knowledge been hidden from us? The story of the Grand Canyon. Given the vast chasms that the Grand Canyon presents, a fundamental question arises. How was the stone colossus actually formed? Well, the fact that the state of Arizona has always been able to enjoy a huge tourist magnet is thanks to the Colorado River. Over millions of years, this river has eaten its way into the rock of the Colorado Plateau, ultimately creating one of the most impressive natural wonders on our globe.
Yeah, I was told before that if you look at the rocks, you could tell the different levels that the water has been as it's dropped from where it once was by just certain imprints and indentions on those rock levels. You could see it. They say it shows it to you, and we've seen them in different pictures, man, and it makes a lot of sense. So it makes sense what he's saying about the water just peering through these rocks.
This river has eaten its way into the rock of the Colorado Plateau, ultimately creating one of the most impressive natural wonders on our globe. The fact that we know the Grand Canyon today as the Grand Canyon is incredibly thanks to a certain John Wesley Powell. Before the U.S. explorer coined the uniform term in 1869, many different names were still in use. According to our current knowledge, the settlement history of the Grand Canyon goes back more than 3,000 years. Native Indians once lived here, known as the desert culture. The indigenous people lived as hunter-gatherers, sometimes making sandals and baskets and killing their prey with stone spearheads. About 1,000 years later, the Anasazi spread across the region, permanently changing the face of the canyon with numerous dwellings carved into the canyon walls and countless petroglyphs. However, if one takes a look at a controversial...
Back and look at that. I like to look at the drawings, man, and try to imagine or put myself into the mind of whoever was drawing it at the time to see, okay, what was he trying to tell us? Is he drawing this out of pure and complete boredom, or was this him just being an artist? Or was he trying to leave us a clue? Or was he trying to tell a story or point to something signs? I always ask myself those questions when I'm looking at these arts to try to figure out, you know what I mean? What we're looking at. The answers to the questions that we have could be right here in front of us, you know?
Changing the face of the canyon with numerous dwellings carved into the canyon walls and countless petroglyphs. However, if one takes a look at a controversial story that has been circulating for more than 100 years, one might think that the desert culture, or the Anasazi, were by no means the first human inhabitants of the gigantic canyon. In fact, the region was developed several centuries earlier by another people, none other than the ancient Egyptians. Cover-up or forgery. Before we go into more detail about the exact background of this foolhardy claim, we would first like to see what the official side has to say about this assumption. In fact, this rumor has been so persistently established in the last few decades that it is even mentioned on the official website of the Smithsonian Magazine. Thus, the operators have created a separate category in which the, quote, untrue rumors about the important American research and educational institution are listed. For example, one myth states that the Smithsonian came across ancient Egyptian ruins in the Grand Canyon. The short and concise opinion on this is, No, it is not. However, the matter is somewhat more detailed with the background story listed. So this message was circulated on April 5, 1909 in the Arizona Gazette. At the time, the newspaper reported that the groundbreaking discovery was the work of Smithsonian researcher G.E. Kincaid, who subsequently examined the site more closely with an archaeologist named S.A. Jordan. In this regard, however, the Smithsonian points out two major issues. On one hand, the Arizona Gazette was the only newspaper to tell of such a find, and on the other hand, there would be no records confirming the very existence of Kincaid or Jordan.
Whoa. See, when records go to missing and people start disappearing, or there's controversy surrounding their name, whether or not they did something or did something take place, the two people, and we can't get a clear statement from them, something's not right here. Something's not right. And then you have to think, like, what are they hiding? What did they find? What did they find? It had to be something of so much significant value for them to either cover up or forge some things or do some different things to hide trace and evidence of their discoveries.
Paper to tell of such a find. And on the other hand, there would be no records confirming the very existence of Kincaid or Jordan. On the trail of the mystery.
Wow.
So at this point, one could say that this settles the story. Well, but of course the internet wouldn't be the internet if all users could be convinced so easily. So let's take a look at what other sources have to say about the supposed sensational discovery. After a brief investigation, we learn that the story was picked up not once, but twice. Alternatively to the information of the Smithsonian Magazine, it was not the Arizona Gazette, but the Phoenix Gazette. Be that as it may, the first headline made the rounds in March 1909. However, at the time, there was no talk of overwhelming artifacts from ancient Egypt. Rather, the first article merely introduced the researcher G.E. Kincaid and his work around the Colorado River. Although the reader already learned in this text that Kincaid had recorded some interesting archaeological discoveries, what they were in detail, however, initially remained open. The journalistic bombshell then burst a few days later in April. The article told of an ancient hidden city in the Grand Canyon and a gigantic artificial cave complex. That the Southwest region is home to many Pueblo ruins and cities was well known to Kincaid. However, the explorer immediately knew that the newly discovered site was quite different from anything he knew. With its exotic makeup, it seemed conspicuously out of place, not to mention Egyptian-inspired. But of course the explorer did not just trust his initial intuition. He ventured further into the complex and saw things there that were in stark contradiction to official historiography. Mysterious articles. Without knowing the
Listen, there's nobody as more appreciative as myself and others, man, for y'all taking these risks to go discover things and stuff like that. But please be cautious and careful. I think this submarine incident that just took place, and I want to say prayers and condolences out to the family. Well, prayers. They still haven't, not that I know of, to my knowledge, made an official, like, calling off the search and everything like that. I do know that they're out of oxygen, but the extent that y'all go to discover things and see things and stuff like that, please be careful, man. You know, this dude here just went all inside these caves, man. They have these underground cities and different things that we're discovering and finding. But one thing we've seemed to learn is that certain things were put in place, whether they were traps or booby traps or different things like that, because the Egyptians or whomever were protective of their stuff. And they knew people would come eventually to try to find their treasures, golds, whatever, you know. They even put curses, possibly, allegedly, on the tombs, inside the tombs and different things like that, to where you open them up and you're this curse is released upon you. So you gotta be careful, man. I know it's a rush to want to be the first, but they gotta be careful, bro. Just seeing this thing just made me nervous of them walking inside this cave.
Just trust his initial intuition. He ventured further into the complex and saw things there that were in stark contradiction to official historiography. Mysterious articles. Without knowing the context, one might think that the report describes the interior of a pyramid or an ancient Egyptian temple. However, as mentioned, the artifacts are said to have been tracked down in a completely different part of the world. According to the report, Kincaid had come across a shrine in the site that contained a seated figure holding a flower in each hand. But that was not all. Hieroglyphs, copper instruments, weapons, and mummies had also lain dormant in the hidden complex. In view of the overwhelming dimensions of the cave city, Kincaid estimated that up to 50,000 people could once have lived there. The newspaper article goes on to say that the explorer immediately reported his discovery to the Smithsonian Institute, whereupon the site was thoroughly investigated. But that was it. The story was never to be revisited afterwards. But why is that? After all, it was an absolute world sensation that gave us unprecedented insights into the course of human history. Well,
50,000? Of course, that's history. 50,000 in an underground city? That's a remarkable discovery, man. And I hope people are taking note. Not saying that I hope one day we have to resort to living in an underground city, but knowing how to construct one, knowing how to build one, knowing how to survive in one, coexist in one, having that as a backup plan could really come through and be life-saving if we need it. Just think about everything that's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? Russia, Ukraine, us looking at China. They have things set in place for, I think, maybe the presidents and the higher ups and different things like that. None for us. Maybe we need to band together and start looking into some underground cities ourselves. That's all I'm saying. Y'all think about it.
Well, there are, of course, two possible explanations. On the one hand, it is conceivable that the message was simply wrong. But if this is so, why was it printed at all? Was it perhaps something like a belated April Fool's joke? Who was Kincaid really? And did he even exist?
Wow.
A conspiracy? The alternative explanation is much more profound. According to this, Kincaid not only existed, he also really came across the traces of an ancient Egyptian colony in the Grand Canyon. However, after the revolutionary find became known, those responsible would have done everything humanly possible to cover up this knowledge before the broad public. Thus, it is rumored in certain circles already for a long time that the Smithsonian Institute intervenes again and again, censoring if something is discovered which does not agree with the official historical picture. As is well known, the era of the ancient Egyptians is still overshadowed by huge question marks. Surely you have heard a few weeks ago that a new chamber has just been discovered in the huge pyramid of Khufu. And indeed, experts believe that most of the structure is still unexplored. Yes, we do not even know how the pharaoh's empire dwellers even managed in detail to build the gigantic monument. The assumption that the pyramids were created solely through the use of soft copper tools and sheer muscle power is visibly beginning to crumble. In this regard, some people believe it is more likely that the ancient Egyptians actually possessed much more advanced technologies that may have even allowed them to reach as far as the Americas. Open questions. In and of itself, it would be easy to go to the region described by Kincaid or whoever and get to the bottom of the matter. Once there, one could check whether there really is a hidden ancient Egyptian site at the said location, and the matter would be unmistakably clarified. Well, unfortunately,
at what expense though? if they saying that the Smithsonian or whomever, powers that be, I like to call them, would stop at nothing to make sure that story doesn't get out or there's no proof, you need to be taking an army with you down there, fam.
It is not quite so simple, because actually, the area in which the secret cave city is to be lies in a zone which may not be entered by civilians.
Boom.
Regarding the exact location,
Boom.
Kincaid said the following: "The longitude measurements once adjusted to our common system, about 68 kilometers upstream from El Tovar Crystal Canyon, I saw spots in the sedimentary formation on the east wall, about 610 meters above the riverbed. There was no trail to this rock, but I eventually reached it with great difficulty. Above the ledge of the rock that made the cave invisible from the river was the entrance." So guys, and now we're curious about your opinion. What do you think about the supposed sensational discovery of Kincaid? Do you think that it's possible that ancient Egyptians actually managed to travel to America and settle there? As always, drop us your thoughts, suggestions, and feedback on today's video in the comments below.
I have a lot of questions. Why are they trying to hide it? You know? Why is there like a big keep out sign? No entrance sign, no entry sign. Why is that there? Now, will they say it's there to protect people from themselves? That way they don't go in there in fear of collapse, somebody injuring themselves, getting lost. That's a possibility as well. I get that. But lining up with this story from Kincaid and everything else, it just seems like, I don't know, this conspiracy theory has a lot of legs to it. And they're not being completely honest with us as far as that city down there. And what could possibly be down there that y'all are keeping from us? I don't know. It all just seems a wee bit strange. That's all. Listen, y'all get at me in the comment section, man, and let me know what you thought about this video. Just don't feel right. Sometimes it's not even it's just the feeling. You have to go with your gut sometimes. And the feeling I get from what they're saying and what truly happened back then in the early 1900s is, I don't know, it's a weird feeling. I'm gonna follow my gut though. All right, so y'all get at me, let me know what you think, leave a like, and stick around and stay tuned. So next one I'm gone. Peace.